Hey guys, thanks so much for listening to our podcast. If you could please follow us on Instagram at ENG Podcast and tag a friend, that'd be great. And if you haven't already, please rate and review us on iTunes. Today's episode of the ENG Podcast is sponsored by our good friends at Clothing by Owl. All you Bachelor fans will recognize this name as they are the company behind the hugely popular Wine Bachelor and Yoga Pants tank top. What you may not know is that they give back a percentage of every item sold to animal rescue, and that notable Bachelor alums like JoJo Fletcher, Caitlin Bristow, Lauren Bushnell, Ben Higgins, and Nick Viall are all huge supporters. We're happy to offer our listeners 20% off when you visit clothingbyowl.com. Simply add the discount code ENG, that's EANDG, to save on all your Bachelor gear. And be sure to follow them on social media at Clothing by Owl.
Jeff and I are doggy dads, which is why we're so excited to be partnering with our newest sponsor, Puppies Make Me Happy. They have a super simple mission to make the happiest clothes on earth, which they do. And we know our listeners will love this brand just as much as we do. Plus, we're excited to help spread a little happiness ourselves by offering listeners 20% off all merchandise by using discount code ENG. That's EANDG at checkout. Make sure to follow them on Instagram at Puppies Make Me Happy.
Welcome to a surprisingly fun interview on the ENG podcast. We had Tiara Soleim. Is that not Soleim? Soleim? I still can't pronounce her last name.
We even asked her that question.
We asked her. It's on there.
So Tierra, Jeff, that was a lot of fun, man. Like you and I both thought that her filter was going to be off a little bit. You mentioned too, I think on our last podcast when we were doing our review that, she kind of got burned a little bit, right? So she'd probably be down to open up a little bit more. And boy, was that accurate. I would say that we got a ton out of her. In terms of what was happening behind the scenes and just kind of her raw take on a lot of the people that were out in Paradise this season as well.
Yeah, this girl did not hold back at all. And not only with, her opinion about the other people, the other contestants on the show that she's met, but with the entire production, which was awesome. And I think a lot of these people online who are, all hung up on only what they see on TV, definitely listen to Tierra because this girl just basically says straight up, oh, the producers made this happen and this happened. They told me this. And it was also very shocking. She talked about a lot of incentives that certain people had to go on Paradise. She talked about how she was treated on The Bachelor and how she was shocked that they wanted her to be on Paradise. So it's a lot of interesting stuff, a lot of behind the scenes going on.
Totally. That was some of the most interesting conversation, right? Part of conversation was talking about The Bachelor and kind of how she got into the franchise. And how they probably saw something in her that they wanted to mold for TV, right? To make her look like one of these kind of kooky, weird, funny characters that you often see on the franchise. And then when she got there, they realized like, oh, damn, this girl is maybe a little bit more refined than we thought. And so she has some thoughts as to what might have happened next in regards to that, in terms of her going home so early. And it's just interesting, man. It's all this behind the scenes stuff. It's the tinfoil hat stuff that we love to talk about.
She is the exact person I wanted to talk to get all my tinfoil hat theories out there.
Redmond, Washington, shout out. I know you guys will enjoy this one. It was a lot of fun.
There she is. Yes.
I have no idea how to use it.
You're doing great. This is Jeff. Just so we get it right, is your name pronounced Tiara or Tierra?
Tierra.
Tierra. Okay, and your last name is pronounced what?
Soleim.
Soleim. Okay. Ian thought it was so lame, and I thought that was so fucked up that he said that.
High school. I was like, fuck you guys. I'm not lame.
So, thank you for doing the podcast. Welcome. Let's talk quickly about how you got into the whole Bachelor world.
Oh, goodness. It's kind of a funny story, actually, because I had no interest in doing it whatsoever, but one of the moms I babysit for is like, you got to try out. And I was like, nah, I'm not interested. And she's like, no, you have to. And I was like, okay. So I was basically at a horse show, like 2 hours away from Seattle. She comes and picks me up. I'm literally in like my horse show attire, drives me to Seattle, like gives me clothes and is like, go. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? So basically just went there, did the interview, and was not expecting to hear back from them at all because I was just so like, yeah, I like chickens. That's all there is to it. Apparently they liked that, so.
and then your persona was born, Tiara. It's like, how do you feel about how you were portrayed as a chicken girl?
I love it. Like, I always do that funny hashtag no shame in the chicken game because I literally have like no shame in how obsessed I am with my birds. So like people will be like, oh my God, you're so weird. And I'm like, okay, I made it on national TV. You didn't. So like all because of some chickens. So I'm like,
exactly. Own it.
I'm proud
right?
of it.
Yeah, no, you got to steer into it a little bit. That's good to see that you're embracing it. I have to ask you though. So we were chatting a little bit before. This is Ian. Welcome to the pod. And we both grew up in the same place. So I feel like people who are not familiar with Redmond, Washington, are like, is this like a rural, like country type situation? And it's really not at all. So what got you into chickens? Is this just like a family thing? Do you guys have a farm?
So I grew up on the plateau way back when, so it wasn't as like, plateau yuppie whatever. And so we lived on a bunch of acreage, and I don't even really remember. I just feel like at that time I was just like, I really liked horses and I really liked chickens, and so my parents were super supportive, and I've just had them ever since then, and my obsession has just grown like more and more, and I will probably always have chickens till I die.
There you go. So I also grew up on the plateau. That's so weird. Like,
yeah,
I
know.
I was on Demery Hill, and
yes!
I think hilarious.
Hey guys, I'm gonna go take a shit. You enjoy this conversation.
I was gonna say, by the way, Jeff will lose shit when I start talking about my hometown. So this is gonna be good.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Hilarious. So... Did you go to Eastlake High School?
I did, unfortunately.
What the fuck? What year did you graduate?
Like yesterday. I'm 2007, but okay. How old are you? Because I feel like we talked about this. I don't remember if you're 31 or.
So because I feel like like Anthony,
yes,
Berthold, and Shy, and like Dugan. Yeah. All those are all my friends. I know those guys.
I'm with them all the time. Like I think I see Anthony every single day. Dugan and Shy and Anthony all have an app together.
Yeah.
So I see them like once a week, but like I think we took Dugan wakeboarding a couple weeks ago. It was fucking hilarious.
There you go. The listeners are gonna love this part of the podcast, by the way. All my fans. So we'll steer away from this and get back.
No, dude. The listeners want to know more about Dugan.
But it's fun, Steve. Shout out. I haven't talked to a lot of those guys in forever, but those are all good dudes. That's who I graduated with. So it's a small world. It's fun. It was fun to see you up on the screen repping Redmond, Washington. Although I just wanted to clarify that it's not like a country backwoods town, right? It's like
no,
really not. So you were starting to tell us that your babysitter or the person you were babysitting for was really instrumental in getting you there. So she drove you to the audition. What was the next step for you? Because everybody seems to have these stories about the audition process and what they had to do. Like, what was that like for you?
All right. So basically went there, sat in front of a camera. They asked me about myself. And I was just like, I like chickens. That's about it. I have a horse. And they then pull you aside, which you're like, oh shit, this is not happening. So they put you into this little room where they give you some paperwork, and they're like, okay, we need you to be available in August to fly you down for the finals weekend. And I was like, haha, this is funny. And I'm like, okay. And so they take 100 pictures of you from 75 different angles. Not sure why. And I feel like I was doing a mug shot, a really fashionable mug shot. And so you leave, and I was just honestly this entire time I was like, I'm not expecting to hear back from them because it's just out of hundreds and thousands of crazy girls, I'm so boring that they're going to be like, oh, no, just push this one aside. Anyways, so then they call me and they're like, okay, we want to fly you down. And I'm like, that's funny. Okay. So they fly me down to LA, which is then based on, they like narrow it down to like 100 or so girls. And that's where they pick their 25, I think.
Yeah, something like that. 25, 28, something like that.
Yeah. So like that part was hilarious because you do a shit ton of testing, which is basically like, do you want to kill somebody with your hands? Do you ever have any thoughts of killing people with your hands? Do you like food? Do those magazines make you want to harm people? And I'm like,
wow.
Yes! Basically to make sure that I'm not neurotic, which half the time I'm like literally just like drawing something out of the bubbles, like not answering them. Anyway, so they pull you into this room, or they interview in front of this camera, and then they are like, okay, you need to come meet some of our friends. And I'm like, okay, great. And then they put you in the room with like all the producers, which is like 20 or 30 of them, where I like pretty sure I peed myself the entire time. And at that point they were like, we love you. And I was like, why? And so just basically told them like I like my birds still, and they were like, oh my god, that's so amazing. And I'm like, I don't understand what's happening right now. And then a couple weeks later I was like, they're not gonna call me. And then I was out on Lake Sammamish with all of the moms I babysit for, and they called me, and I totally rejected it because I was like, hell no, this is not happening. And
damn. So you were apprehensive. What was holding you back? What was holding you back?
It's reality TV. It's the fucking Bachelor, and it like basically is not as a person, like. But so yeah, it's just like no, this isn't me at all, and I don't want the world to see me because I'm socially awkward and I look homeless half the time.
Were you aware that Ben was the Bachelor?
Finally, once they found out, Eliza, who is the mom that had me go, she was like, you need to watch an episode of Caitlin's season to see what he looks like. And I was like, I think I watched him like the day before I left. And I was like, okay, that's what he looks like. Perfect. And that was it. So
what do you think? Were you like, oh, that guy's my type, or were you attracted to him or anything?
I was kind of going into it like as if I was being set up with somebody. So like the normal way that you date a human, where it's like, oh, you're cute. So I thought he was cute. But I didn't like freakishly research him like some of the girls did. So I basically was just like, I'm going in completely blind and like want to get to know him the normal way you do when you date a human. But I didn't get that chance.
Right.
I got the boot ASAP.
Well, so tell us a little bit more about that, right? I know the grand entrance is a big part of night one. What was that like for you? And remind us, what did you do when you came out of the limo that first time?
I did nothing other than my shoe came off, but luckily I caught that real well, and you would have had no idea. They wanted me to like, I don't know if they like wanted me to like, I mean, the producers come in your room and they're like, okay, so like you need to stick out. And I'm like, yeah, but like, I don't really want to stick out too much because I'm scared to death. But they know they're like, you should bring a bag or like a basket of eggs and tell him to put all your eggs in your basket or something weird like that. And I was just like, no, I think I'm just going to get out really awkward and just go say hi and then run inside. Which is like what I did. I think I had like the dumbest smile on my face and I looked lost.
Well, so what was the experience like? So we've talked to a bunch of people from Ben's season actually, and even the last season of The Bachelorette, we actually just chatted with Luke. Like the first night seems to be, by all accounts, the most stressful and just weird because it's so new. Everybody's there, the cameras, like it's happening, right? What was that like for you?
So I think the funny thing is like when there's not a camera on me, I'm like mildly entertaining. But the second like the cameras would come over to me, I would just like freeze. And so I think like the producers were super mad at me because night one, I think I sat in the corner. Mind you, I go to bed super early. So to have to be awake from like 11 a.m. Thursday to like Friday morning at like is when it ended, was like at 7 or 8 in the morning. So like, mind you, I was like passing out in the corner and they were like, Tierra, you need to wake up. And I'm like, guys, I'm struggling. Like I'm on the struggle bus. This is tough. So I basically like, I wasn't what they thought I was going to be. Like, I think they're expecting me to be just like neurotic and like running around causing problems and like just being crazy. And I didn't do that. And they were mad. So they were like, go home.
Yeah. So you're getting to something that some people kind of hint at, and I know goes on for sure, that the producers definitely tell you a lot of what they want you to do. How much of that are they telling you what to do? And also, do you think they're telling Ben, hey, get rid of these, 4 girls or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know for sure, but my idea or my thought of it was, I think so when they do the rose ceremony, like he'll come in, say 4 names, and then he'll go back out, and then come back in, and then come back out. Like that was the first night, obviously, because that's as long as I was there for. But so I think like overall, like they'll be like, okay, pick like 5 that you're like genuinely attracted to, and like we'll tell them your name, or we'll tell you their names. You can keep them, and then we need to choose, the rest for entertainment. And for me, like, yeah, I sat there in the corner half the time, like just super tired and like scared and uncomfortable, that they were like, send her home.
Wait, real quick. I've always wondered this. So this is not all happening like where he's just rattling off all the names. They're cutting that together in post. And so he's coming out and saying like 3 names, calling them down, and then going away. What is that like for you guys during this process? You're just standing there?
Literally, I was like sweating because it's like you're dying because you're stuffed in this room with a bunch of girls, and you have to sit there silently. If not, like the main guy, I don't know who he is, but some big guy will yell at you if you like move, and all the cameras are watching you, and we can't. It's just like, it's so nerve wracking because you're like, oh my God, pick me. And he's like, no, I'm not going to pick you. I'm like, oh.
Are you talking to the other girls during that? Or you all just have to be silent?
We can't talk at all.
Oh, no. You're not allowed to talk?
No.
Oh, because they want all the shots of you guys just standing there looking nervous and stuff.
Yeah, which like half the time, like my face was like pissed off. Like they would show me when like something bad would happen, and I'd be like, bah, I'm being mugging. Thanks, guys.
Because you're only there for one night, what was your take on the other girls? Like specifically JoJo, or like any other girls? Were there some girls like Lace or something, or anyone? You don't have to talk about them, but what was your take on the girls? You thought were stupid?
I had in my limo, I had Izzy, Leah, JoJo. Why can't I remember the other girl? Or maybe that was it. It was just us 4. So before we, went to the mansion, obviously we all got escorted from our hotel room to downstairs where we waited for the limo. So, I walk out there and I see Izzy in her onesie, and I'm like thinking she's a producer, because I'm like, why the fuck is this girl wearing a onesie? And then when I realized I was like, oh, like you're super pretty and like you're here for this. And I was like, oh my God. So instantly I connected with her. And we talk almost like every week, a couple times. So we love each other. JoJo, of course, right away, I'm like, damn, you're really pretty. And, oh, you have an accent. You're from Texas. You're perfect. And you're super sweet. So basically you're what everybody in the world wants. And Leah, I was just like, you're really hot. And I don't really talk to you that much. But you seem nice. But so yeah, I really liked JoJo, and I really, really liked Izzy.
Okay.
And then Leah just.
What did you think? I mean, we'll skip back. We'll go back and forth, I guess. But what did you think about what happened with Izzy on Bachelor in Paradise with the whole Vinny thing, and how Brett came in and she was like, "Oh, that guy looks really hot. I'm gonna have to take off." What do you think about all that and how that was edited?
So the day, I don't know. I think of course they edited it to make her look awful, but like I don't know. It was a confusing situation. I mean, I felt terrible for her that, she was like, things with her and Vinny were just like kind of like at a standstill. And then Brett walks in and she was like, oh shit, like he's beautiful and whatever. And I didn't know that he broke up with her or like cut things off with her. She didn't mention that to me, which is totally fine. She doesn't have to. But I just remember when we were home and she called me and was like, I need you to find Vinny's number, like somehow, text Wells, talk to somebody. Like, I need to talk to him. I need to go see him. I need to get him back. And then I watched it, watched the whole show back. And I was kind of like, oh shit, Izzy, like you failed to mention that, Brett broke up with you and now you're running back to Vinny. And it was a hot mess, but I kind of think she deserves better because Vinny is just kind of like living the DJ life of like hoes and hoes. And I'm like, Izzy, you could get so much better. Like clearly he got over her real fast. So I'm like, I don't think he was ever fully 195% into her.
I don't know. So that was your take. So we actually had Izzy on the pod as well.
I love her.
Yeah. And Izzy was great, but she was definitely shouting during the pod, like Team Vizzy, we're in it to win it, all this stuff, right? Like she was all about it. And then lo and behold, literally the next episode is when all this drama kind of came and happened with her breaking it off. I mean, she did do the dumping, right? It wasn't Vinny. Vinny did seem to be a little bit hurt. And I guess the question that I have for you is, after the Rose or after Paradise and that after show, I think it was a couple weeks ago, they had both of them on. It seems like that was, quote unquote, the first time they had seen each other since the show wrapped, which who knows?
Oh, God, no.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. So, like, have they been chatting? Are they friends? Because there's all sorts of, like, gossip mag type stuff about them, right? Like, maybe they're a couple again. So where is that at? Can you clarify that for us?
From what I know, they tried. And I think he was just kind of like, and so they kind of called it quits and then got back together, called it quits. And as of now, as of like last weekend, she was like, oh, I just need some space from you. Again, because he's living like the DJ life of like hookers and one night stands, I would assume.
Hookers? Whoa. You'd assume
I don't
hookers?
know. I mean, that's what people do in Vegas. They get hookers and have one night stands.
Okay.
Not sure.
A lot of big
He's doing
assumptions
that.
there. We'll ask Vinny when he comes on the pod. Tiara says
Tiara
hookers.
Says he's all, I'm sorry, who's Tierra?
Well, Tiara, let's stick with Paradise for a second. I think that was a good segue. When you were told that you were going to be on the show, or when you were approached to be on the show, were you apprehensive? It sounds like you didn't even want to go on initially to The Bachelor. How did they get you on The Bachelor in Paradise?
I was more interested in doing Paradise because it's like multiple men and multiple women, and I'm not like super aggressive when it comes to relationships. So like doing The Bachelor, having like 1,000 girls and then one guy, I was like, I'm not aggressive enough. That's not my personality. So they were like, okay, this might be better for you. It's more options. And I was like, perfect. I was like, screw it. I'll do it. And then, just waiting and waiting and waiting because the producer's like, okay, I'm like, hey guys, I need to know like now for my job. And they're like, okay, yeah, we'll keep you posted. Finally, they were like, okay, you're going. And I'm like, geez, like it's over like in 7 days at that point. So they flew me out to Mexico where I sat in a hotel room for 4 days. And they were like, okay, Wednesday you're going on. And I'm like, perfect. So Wednesday morning, Shoshana and Lauren go in, and then Wednesday evening, I come in. And so I go down the stairs, and Chris is like, oh, hey. And I'm like, what up? And he's like, you're the last person in. And I was like, fuck this. And they're like, here's your card. You're set free. And I'm like, fuck. Walk.
And let me tee this up too, right? Because this was going to be my follow-up, is Nick came over and spoke to you. That's what everybody saw. That's what our listeners saw as well. but then he left with your date card. What was said? Like, was that producer intervention? What happened there behind the scenes?
So I go down, I grab Izzy, like pull her aside, and I'm like, so, I'm like, I have a date card. I've never done this before. I'm so excited. She's like, well, the producers were like, you have 1 hour to find a date. And so I'm all, Izzy, who's available? And she's like, literally nobody here. And I was like, okay. And she was like, Brett and Wells are available, but they're on a date right now, and we have no idea when they're going to be back. And so then, the producer's like, okay, Tierra, you have like 45 minutes to find somebody. And I'm like, there's nobody I can take. Yeah. Like, I was like, I could take Izzy, but I'm not sure ABC would appreciate that. And so at that point, one of the producers pulled me aside and was like, yeah, so, what are you going to do? I'm like, I don't fucking know. Like, you guys set me up for this, so why don't you fucking tell me what I'm supposed to do? Like, what do you mean? And they're like, well, why don't we just, go sit over here? Maybe you need to give it away. And I'm like, oh, hell no. I'm like, really? Is this happening? And so they then, sit me down on that bed on the beach, contemplating life and my date card. And then Nick comes and I'm like, motherfucker. Where then we sit down. He basically says, like, I heard you want to give it up. I'm like, no, that's not the case, but okay. He's like, I think Jen and I really deserve it. And I was like, fuck it, you can have it. And so that was it. Wow. So Nick may have had a little birdie in his ear, like, hey, Nick, like, this may be up for grabs if you want to make a move. It's pretty safe to say. Okay. Interesting. Damn, I mean, it's always crazy to see what happens behind the scenes. And I guess the question to you with when you came in is, that was by far the worst spot to come to Paradise, right? I mean, you were literally last. The show was almost a wrap. There had been people there for weeks, right? Like, when did you find out that you were going to be the last person to show up? And how did you feel about that? I found out the second that I walked down to Chris and he told me that. Wow. And then he told me that, I was pissed. I mean, I was just like, hey, you guys just basically set me up for failure. And I'm like, I was like, I'm not sure, like, all the producers know me. Like, they know me well enough to know that I'm not an aggressive person and I'm not, like, controversial and I'm pretty docile. So I'm like, out of every girl, like, why did you send me in when you did? Like, fucking send Leah in towards the end, because that girl will come in and, like, a hurricane will erupt. I'm like, but me? Like, the most, like, okay, you can have my card. Fuck you guys. Like, way to give, like, the assholes.
Was there any were there any guys that you were hoping would be there?
No, I again went in like just completely blind and was just going to do it the natural way of like going into a group of men and being like, oh, am I attracted to any of these guys?
Right.
So, and when I got there, Izzy had pulled me aside and been like, she was like, I was kind of seeing Brett, but I made a huge mistake. She's like, you should try for him. He's really cute. He's really nice. And he's funny. And I was like, perfect. And then I talked to him and I was like, it's like talking to my sister. There's nothing here.
Yeah. So what's your take on some of the people that you know from Paradise, like the guys and the girls? Like, what are the twins like? Were you there with them?
No, I did not. I wasn't with them when I got there, but I hung out with them when we went to Women Tell All, and they're like the nicest people ever.
Okay.
Like, they're so sweet. Like, they're amazing.
So who are you close with? You told us a couple people are close with. Who are you close with? Who else are you close with? And who do you maybe not like? You didn't like their personality or they rubbed you the wrong way?
I talk to Amanda every now and then, so I really like her. Lauren and I actually, the first night on Ben's season, it was so funny because we were sitting next to each other and, we had connected because she was from Oregon and my sister lives there. So we were both just like, oh, I go to Oregon sometimes. And she's like, that's where I grew up. And it was great because at that point of the night, we were sitting there and I was like, I just talked to Ben and things were going really well. And so she turns to me and she goes, I'm going to get sent home. And in my head, I was like, I'm not going anywhere. And then I'm all, bye, Felicia. Have fun with your husband. I'm getting sent home. But anyway, so yeah, I talked to Amanda, I talked to Izzy. The only person that I just wasn't a super, super, super fan of was Leah, but she's a good person overall. I just never, I don't know. We just never connected as really, really good friends. I mean, she's sweet, but
So why did Leah stand out?
I think what really got me was that one time on Ben's season when she called out Lauren, and I thought that was super rude of her. So that's my only negative thing with her. But other than that, I usually like mainly everybody. So
okay.
Tiara, you mentioned that you're probably not like the aggressive type, maybe especially in that environment. And someone like Olivia, if I'm going back to Ben's season, I want to say maybe she even got the first impression rose. Like she was a strong personality right out the gate. Did you have any interaction with her?
Yes, I actually hung out with her, was it last January? I flew to Texas and we did a photo shoot together. She's amazing. Like, she got screwed so tough on that show. Like, it was awful. And she is not what they portrayed her at all. But she, they could get her to say things. Like, they ask you certain questions in 45 different ways to get answers that they want, that they will then edit in to different things. So she overall is, she's a strong personality and, maybe offended a couple of the girls, but overall I would get her back 110% till the day she dies.
So it's good to it's good to speak with everybody, right? Because we're only shown what the producers in the show want us to see. Right. Yeah. So even your appearances, it's only half the story oftentimes. And I think with someone like Lauren B, who obviously went on to win, you mentioned that first night you guys had a little bit of a connection. What was she like when the cameras were off, or what was just maybe her personality like, some stuff that we didn't see from the show?
She basically is who she is. She's very sweet. She's quiet. She's beautiful. She's super nice. She's very similar to me, where she was she's not super, super aggressive. And I don't think she was throughout the entire show. She just was her and he liked it. So from that, again, I didn't have very much time with her, but from the first night, the first 12 hours I spent with her, I really liked her and we got along really well and she stayed true to who she is. So
absolutely. Absolutely. And I think editing, again, huge part of it. So if we go back to Paradise, this was someone who was on your season with Ben, Kayla, but she got kind of a bad rap more so recently, I think, with some of the stuff that's come out via Ashley I and a number of other people that were in Paradise around her true intentions of being there and maybe her feelings for someone like Jared. Have you been looped into any of this drama?
No. So Kayla, I think, is the only person that I don't know anything about her other than the first night I met her. She annoyed me because she was so it was she was TV ready. I was I swear to girl, this girl is not she's not a real human. They hired her to come in and, be super lovey-dovey and super eccentric and whatever. So her whole situation with her, Jared and Ashley, I mean, Ashley just needs to get the fuck over Jared. That's just needs to happen. But Kayla, I don't know anything about her. I don't follow her or Jared or anything that's going on in their lives. And what happened in Paradise was super ridiculous. And I have no idea. I heard she wasn't going. And then 3 seconds later, she was going. So I was just I don't know what's happening. Clearly they offered her enough money that she was fuck it, I'll do it.
Wow. Was there a cash incentive to being in Paradise?
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody got paid differently, but I know the more famous girls got way more money.
Are we talking 6 figures or is it much less?
No. They just paid us daily. So
okay.
Yeah, they would just offer up that, I think.
What is your take on Lace? I'm just wondering what you think about Lace, because they definitely portray her as a drunk, but it's everyone's drinking, so are they just editing her to be oh, let's just show Lace when she's hammered, and everyone's getting hammered?
Yeah, with her, I talked to her a little bit. She's a little too, the drama follows her, so that just, she stresses me out a little bit. I can't I can't be that wrapped up in like all the crazy that happens with her. I do know she does like to party and she does like to drink, and I think they did a good job portraying her how she is. I mean, she's a super nice person, but I think she's kind of she is a shit show, kind of, in the nicest way possible. I like don't know how to say. She's like one of my friends, so I'm like, how do I say that? And like a huge bitch. Like I'm happy that she's figuring her life out and like getting it together, and she's engaged, and I'm so happy about that. I just know that she needs to like get it together. Just get it together, girl.
So do you feel like her and Grant have like a very real relationship though? I mean, obviously they're engaged. They seem very much like a happy couple trying to work it out.
I mean, they seemed great. I don't know. I'm not sure. I like Josh and Amanda, honestly, like I know everybody thinks they're super annoying, but like I loved them. They were so great. Grant and Lace, I just don't know if they, are, I never know, like if it's like for the fame and the money or if it's real or not. It's super hard.
Gotcha.
Right. Well, Grant and Lace, it translates into grace, and that's huge when it comes to marriage and having kids and everything, if you can combine your names. So that's kind of big for them. So it seems real. I was going to ask you, if the people weren't taken when you showed up, what guys there would you have had your eye on, like, ooh, I would have liked to get my date card? Say no one was in a relationship. Which of the guys would you be interested in?
I mean, Josh is really hot, so I would have probably headed his direction. Wells was super cute, but he's pretty small, and I'm really tall, so that would have been awkward. But probably, I mean, honestly, probably I would have gone after Josh, but...
What about Evan? Would you go after Evan?
Ew, fuck no. No.
And I noticed that you had a pretty strong reaction to that. Why fuck no, Tierra?
Absolutely not. He's weird. He's fucking weird. He's just weird. Like, I don't know about him and Carly. Like, she did not like him. Like, even when I was there for the 4 seconds I was there for, like, she did not like him. So, like, I'm, like, the most thrown off with those two because, I mean, yeah, he's super into her, but she was like, no. And he's just a fucking weirdo. And for some reason, he didn't like me. And that's fine. But I just, no.
Wow,
God,
so
no.
he didn't like you. So that's interesting. So, I mean, he obviously they make him come off pretty weird. But a lot of people we talk to say, like, oh, he's like a really nice guy. He's actually really cool. So it's kind of interesting that he wouldn't like you. And tell us more about, because you got there late, so you're telling us even after you got there, Carly was not into him? Why did you get that vibe?
Well, because she was like, she came over to me and was like, God, he's so annoying when he's drunk. Like, he drives me crazy. And I was just like, that sucks. And I think, I don't know, like, I got the vibe he didn't like me, but I think, like, we were talking about something, and I had said, like, Wells is too small for me. Again, because he's a skinny dude, and I'm not a big girl, but I'm really tall.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's too small for me. And Evan got, like, pissed at me for that. Like he was just like, I don't think that's okay to say. And I'm like, well,
why?
actually, yeah. It's so awkward because I'm like, oh, really? Like, you're actually, like, calling me out because I just said that he's too small? And he was like, well, what if he said that about you? I was like, I guess I don't know. Like, I wouldn't give a shit. Like, that's different. And so, like, after that, like, he wouldn't talk to me, like, wouldn't look at me, and I was like, fuck, I don't care. Like, you are weird, and I'm like, sorry that it's my life and my opinion, and I don't want a small significant other.
Right.
So,
how tall are you?
5'8".
5'8". Yeah, I mean,
I'm not like ginormous,
yeah.
but
Everyone has their type, though. I mean, some girls like buff guys, some girls like skinny guys. You know what I mean? So that's not a big deal at all. It's kind of interesting. He got kind of bent out of shape by that. How big is Evan? Is he very small?
He's a small human. He's probably like, I don't know, because every time I saw him, he was on his side, like laying down. So I was like, you're stupid.
We gotta ask you about Nick, just simply because he's the next Bachelor, obviously. I know you had some limited interaction with him. I'm not sure if you're friends with Jen, but what was just your vibe on Nick? Because it certainly felt like he had walls up in his, like, personal relationship, but also just kind of felt a little phony at times. So I don't. What did you think? What did you think about Nick?
So I met him once outside of The Bachelor, and that was at the Women Tell All. We all went out afterwards. I met him, talked to him, like there was nothing there, obviously. Like, he does come off as he's, you know, Mr. Good Looking, my body is on point at all times. But he just kind of seemed like he was like higher up, and so like he was on a pedestal, and I was like, have fun up there, that's fine. But I don't know, him and Jen seemed good when I saw them. I mean, I feel like she wasn't 100% into him. Like, she seemed a little irritated when I was there, and granted, like, that was towards the end, which, you know, when you're spending every day with a person, I get it. But I didn't talk to him very much at all. I mainly was with like Jamie and stuff, but
Definitely.
I don't know. I just think, you know, he's entitled and he's a nice person and he means well, but I mean, you a lot of fame being on that show, so that might be his intentions, and go him.
Yeah, I mean, we were just trying, and that's honestly, I mean, we're just trying to get a sense, right? Because again, you're only taking in what you're shown. And this was certainly like a redemption story, quote unquote, for Nick this season. But unfortunately, or fortunately for folks who are fans of Nick, which we do wish him well as The Bachelor, but I mean, Luke was a guy that was going to be The Bachelor, right? So, I mean, this kind of came out of nowhere. I know a lot of our fans are, you know, they have feedback about that, strong feelings one way or another. So it's interesting. It's fun to hear about these guys. The one question I wanted to end with for you was, is there anything that you wanted to clear up, right? Like, was there any editing or a way that you were portrayed or anything that you would just like to, for the record, put it out there and clear up?
No, I think they did. I mean, I'm bummed that they didn't show more of the funnier things that I did, because like in my interviews and all my stuff, like I was fucking hilarious. And so I was bummed that they didn't show any of that stuff and that I had like 5 seconds on TV. But no, I think they did just fine with me. Like, I mean, yeah, people will be like, oh my God, she's crazy. I'm actually not crazy, and that's fine. But no, I'm totally happy with how it was portrayed, and I'm happy.
Perfect. Are you dating anybody? Do you keep in touch with Bachelor Nation? It feels like all you guys that have been on the show all kind of are in the same community, right? Whether it's with text messaging or when various people are in each other's cities. Do you take place in that stuff?
I know, not as much. Like when if anybody comes to Seattle, like I'll see them. So like when Amanda was here, I saw her. I went to Vegas a couple weekends ago, was going to see the twins, but they were in LA. I'm not as obsessed with the fame like everybody else is. So I definitely just like have stepped back and no, I'm not dating anybody. I don't really like, I think they showed a clip of me being like, I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life. So like that was hilarious. Cause I'm like, I did say that. I was like, I'm just going to die alone. But yeah, no, not dating anybody, not really keeping in touch. I do, if they'll reach out to me, I'll respond back, but I'm just kind of going back to like my life and not like, oh my God, famous people.
Just so like staying in it. Yeah, exactly. Trying to like drag it out a little bit. I mean, So one question Jeff and I actually always like to ask people too is, what has been the response from just fans and viewers of the show? Like, have you had any weird interactions on social media, people reaching out to you, being recognized in person, just like out living your life? How has that been?
Nobody recognizes me other than at the airport, and that will be like who's ever flying next to me. But so overall, I have not been like really recognized. I'm not aware of it. I'm not paying attention. So from what I've noticed, people don't know me or know who I am in person. I do get some really weird guys and girls, but mainly guys that will send me messages being like, so I heard that we were like destined to be together and like we'd be great together. And I'll like look at their profile and I'm like, Jesus Christ, like help me. I'm like, really? Like not saying that I'm pretty, but I'm like, come on now. You really think you're in my league? No, not really.
Love it.
And the most humble way.
In the most humble way.
possible.
Screaming, do you really think you're in my league?
Yeah, I'm like, how do I say this without sounding like I think I'm the prettiest girl on the planet? Absolutely not. You're silly.
Well, damn. Well, hey, Tierra, we really appreciate you coming on the ENG podcast. You are a chicken enthusiast, but you are proud of that fact, and that's okay with us. We love that you kept it very 100 this entire time.
You did not hold back
at all.
No.
When your friend, hey, I'm gonna be honest. When your friend Izzy came on, it was like she was running for political office. She just loved everybody. Everybody was great. She's like, I'm like, is it Clinton, Trump, or Izzy? Like, are those our choices?
Izzy. Oh my gosh, she's so funny. Oh,
she was too sweet.
Too sweet.
She is.
We gotta see the real Izzy come out one of these days. But is there anything that you would like to promote? Social media tags that you want our listeners to check you out on?
I have no idea. I feel like I know that like I'm the biggest noob. So like I don't even know what half of the things that you just said to me.
Well, exactly.
No.
Okay. Cool. Perfect. That makes everything a lot easier for us. So that works. We were glad to finally make this happen once we figured out how to get Skype working for you. And you know what? Let's make this happen again sometime soon. So we'll chat.
Yeah. I think I texted Anthony being like, can they see me on Skype? I'm like, do I have to look pretty? He's like, dear God, Tierra. And I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Well, tell Anthony Burhill I said what's up because it's been a while. And
well, Ian, are you the one who knows him?
Yes, Ian is the one who knows him. Cool.
Okay.
Thanks so much for coming on, Tiara. We appreciate it.
You're welcome, you guys. Have a good day.
You too.
You too.
Okay, bye.
Hey guys, one last thing. On Instagram, make sure to check out and follow our friends at Bachelor_Nation, who we've teamed up with along with our sponsors to run giveaways and upcoming promotions, which include Skype dates with previous contestants. Thanks so much for listening. Today's episode of the ENG podcast is sponsored by our good friends at Clothing by Owl. All you Bachelor fans will recognize this name as they are the company behind the hugely popular Wine Bachelor and Yoga Pants tank top. What you may not know is that they give back a percentage of every item sold to Animal Rescue, and that notable Bachelor alums like JoJo Fletcher, Caitlin Bristow, Lauren Bushnell, Ben Higgins, and Nick Viall are all huge supporters. We're happy to offer our listeners 20% off when you visit clothingbyowl.com. Simply add the discount code ENG, that's EANDG, to save on all your Bachelor gear. And be sure to follow them on social media at Clothing by Owl.
Jeff and I are doggy dads, which is why we're so excited to be partnering with our newest sponsor, Puppies Make Me Happy. They have a super simple mission to make the happiest clothes on earth, which they do. And we know our listeners will love this brand just as much as we do. Plus, we're excited to help spread a little happiness ourselves by offering listeners 20% off all merchandise by using discount code ENG. That's EANDG at checkout. Make sure to follow them on Instagram at Puppies Make Me Happy.
Ciao, 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 ciao.